Startup Guide for the Fucking Real World with Jose Ochoa. That's what we're talking about today. Sorry about the dramatic title, but he's got a message that he's going to share with us today that you're really going to enjoy. Startups are not easy, they can be very tough to get up and running. What is it that serial entrepreneurs do over and over again to succeed? We are trying to figure those lessons out. We're trying to understand the code. We're trying to understand the secret sauce. Today, as we jump into the startup guide for the fucking real world, again, a little extreme there, Jose, and welcome, Jose, on stage. As we jump into this, it's going to be an interesting topic because we're trying to really talk about what does it take to really make a startup successful. And I think part of that code we're going to learn today, part of those secrets that serial entrepreneurs do to start, scale, exit, repeat, we're going to learn from one today. Jose Ochoa is a serial entrepreneur and quite a successful author as well, best-selling author. Wow, Jose, well, I think you're trying to shock us here with this title. But you actually wrote the book on it. And so I thought you could just kick it off, Jose, and let us know, like, tell us a little bit about your past and how you started out, the very beginning, Jose, when you started out. Jose?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Mimi, Michelle, Startup Club show. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. Um, about my journey, right? Because the stories of journeys are what make us passionate about this crazy world of entrepreneurship, right? So everybody loves to see, I mean, those different movies that entrepreneurship give us as a beautiful journey. So thank you for that. And so can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I
Perfectly.
was just adding people to the room when you're
All right,
I'm multitasking here on the app,
no,
right?
no
But we want to
problem.
hear about your first story, Jose. Like, how did you get
Sure,
involved in
sure.
startups and how did you become a serial entrepreneur? Like, what started it all?
You know what? I would like to start by mentioning that uh, unfortunately, our communities sometimes have the wrong perception about immigrants, right? We tend to believe in, I mean, all over the world, not just between Mexico and United States. We tend to identify or label immigrants as someone that is coming to steal something or resources or drain our communities, right? When in reality, I mean, the majority of immigrants are coming to bring value, right? Or something new to these communities. On my case, I have to say that I came to this beautiful country of United States to bring value, to bring opportunities and create opportunities and make it a better place, right? And I evangelize my sons with that. I mean, my family saying, "Hey, let's make this country, I mean, a better place by being better citizens and all that, including, I mean, everything that we do here." So, 2001, I graduated from public school engineering in Mexico, Chihuahua capital, and after 1 year without having a single opportunity of employment, um, I had to start selling water filtration systems. That's how I started. I was um, I was doing that activity for like 2 3 months just to have enough cash to put gas on my Datsun 1978 and to take my back then my girlfriend, now my wife, to some tacos and the movie theater, right? But of course I knew that journey it will be just temporary. So entrepreneurs are good on sales. So I started by selling. Previously, all my summers I spent my summers when I was in college traveling to Ciudad Juarez, a city 4 hours far from my hometown, to work on construction, right? Just to have enough money for, I mean, my school supplies or clothes. But, anyways, I moved after that to Ciudad Juarez looking for an opportunity of employment. And finally, I got my first major opportunity to work with in Delphi Automotive System Company, which back then was 2001, was one of the biggest suppliers of automotive parts in the world. Okay, so they used to have the world biggest technical center in Ciudad Juarez. So where we used to work like 5,000 PhDs, master's degrees, and engineers on developing the new or the future of automotive parts for General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, Mercedes, BMW, etc. So I arrived to that place with zero experience. I was actually lying about my language. I say it was mandatory to be fluent in English, and I wasn't. If you see my English now, it's not perfect. Back then was horrible. But I say, you know what? I have to take the risk. So it was very challenging there, but thanks God, I found a very good mentor, which was my boss back then, Angel. That's his name, and he was very patient with me. And what he told me after several very severe meetings with him, just on one, because everybody was complaining about me and my performance, he told me, I told him, I challenged him, you know what, fire me. I don't feel enough for this job. I don't feel competent. And he said, no, because I hired you because, and I knew since the beginning you are not good on English, but I saw on your eyes something that I don't see in others. I see that you are a high level guy on commitment, resiliency, work ethic, all that. So I will coach you and I will help you on this. So anyway, so I start learning little by little and exponentially about. I was there working as a packaging engineer, right, and supplier engineer. So I learned a lot of that. And during my tenure there, I was very aware about what's going on around me. So I realized there was an opportunity to to close the gap between suppliers and clients, right? Because I was very frustrated with vendors on packaging industry that they don't understand the other side of the coin. But I told to myself before going to entrepreneurship, I wanna feel what is the manufacturing field, right? So I moved out of Delphi and I went to
So
Siemens.
Jose, I want to pause you there. So I want to hit this point because I think
Yeah,
you sort of brought up that very first step that a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs go through to launch that first startup, and that step was identifying a bottleneck in the industry. You identified there was a problem, and you said, "Okay, I can solve that problem." So you left the company, and how did you take it from the idea to launch? And I want to get Giuseppe on here pretty quickly too. Here, I'm not going to try to ignore you, Giuseppe, but Jose is one of the authors that we're interviewing today, but I do want to get your opinion as well in a few minutes, Giuseppe. But how did you take that from the idea to launch? And try to be a little bit more concise in your answers and your approaches here, so we can have a discussion with the whole community.
sure. Yeah. So to be honest, awareness of uh, what, just not doing your job by automatically. So I realized there was an opportunity, and I was start thinking about, okay, if I was a supplier, what should I done better and unique, or what should be a better value proposition of what I'm seeing here on regular vendors. So from there, I start writing down some ideas, or what are the pains that I'm feeling that I know I can work on fixing right for others. So that was the main thing. And action. I took a high risk by quitting my job. My wife was pregnant on my second son, and with my other son in the arms, and I clearly allowed talk to my wife about what it's going to be happening in our life as an entrepreneur, right? I truly believe that business, it's a family game, okay? Because if you are not aligned with your family in what it's going to be happening on your journey as entrepreneur, it will be very short. Your trip, your journey, all will be very painful, right? So I was completely clear, so everybody aligned, and so then I took the leap to start establishing the company. I mean, as it is, I was they called me the orchestra man, my clients, because I used to do everything by myself, right? I mean, invoicing, shipping, receiving, selling, I mean, meetings, everything by myself. But the key here was that I clearly identify that once I start bringing some revenue, or extra revenue, I started adding teammates to the equation, right? So that way they can free me time to do what I do best. In my case, was selling, right, and looking what's the next step on into the endeavor. So that was a very key for me to understand that, because I see a lot of entrepreneurs that they don't like to add teammates because of budget, because of fear that they steal the idea, and because of fear to be not very well on handling people, right? So you have to embrace that, because if you want to scale or grow, I mean, you cannot do it by yourself, right? You will need a team, okay? And also you have to select, I mean, on a pristine way, I mean, who's coming to the boss, right? Because it's limited seating there on the bus. So if you add the wrong person, it's going to take you down. I mean, so hard. Okay, so that's a key element for me when I was creating my endeavor.
So it's interesting. You're almost matching the book that we're publishing called Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, where we talk about story, people, money, and systems. You've talked about the story, solving a problem. You talked about the people, getting the right people in the right places on the bus. Now, what about the money, raising the money? How did you fund your first venture?
Bootstrap. I never till this day, I never raised any money for anyone. Uh, I don't say that it's not good for me. It's just like kind of like my how my companies are uh, form. And but I know for sure that, I mean, creating the right system to raise money, it will exponentially grow you. But in the other side, I know if you don't bring the exact or the key partner investing money, will be miserable, right? Because if you bring the wrong investor, he will believe that he owns you, right? He will believe that he owns you, and that's a killer. That's a killer. So you, on my perception, talking with other
Okay, Jose, I
entrepreneurs,
want to push back a little bit here, and I want Giuseppe to come in on this one as well. But
yep,
like the reality is, a lot of the startups they just don't have the funding to get started. You say you just bootstrapped it,
yep,
and I understand that. So I'll give you the chance first, Jose, and I want to hear from Giuseppe on this particular topic. Because a lot of people need to take that money. They need that initial funding, the angel funding, and if they don't get it, they just can't start. Now, don't get me wrong. I started with credit card debts, student loans,
me too.
and dreams and aspirations. That's what I started with in 1993. But so Jose, so I'm pushing back you on a little bit, and I do want to hear from Giuseppe on this topic as well.
Sure, sure. And by saying bootstrap is that I was in I was living sometimes with credit cards before I can generate enough revenue. Also, back then, one of the partners, he was kind of like putting some money. I mean, a little money, not crazy money, just little money to keep. I mean, running the supplies, the raw material, all that. But I immediately sit down in front of my key vendors that I need, and I propose to them a systems or equation about credit, giving me the trustability of credit so I can sell on a 30-day terms, and they can give me the same 30-day terms. So that way I started, when I generate trust with one vendor, so it creates me a good traction to be on the same terms with customers and vendors. So that was key for me, like building super fast credibility and credit lines with vendors. That what saves the ship to us.
Yeah, I remember we had an author on here named John Mullins who wrote the book Customer Funded Startup. And if you Google that on the internet, Startup Club, Customer Funded Startup, you can check out that episode. But we dedicated an entire episode to the concept of funding your business by leaning on your customers. Giuseppe, I know you've done many businesses, restaurants, real estate. You're all over. Like you're a serial entrepreneur, and this whole issue of starting out and getting initial funding. How did you deal with that early on in your career?
Everything, Colin, everything was a dream, one idea from someone. Try to think, someone else around you, around me, everything. My goal was not to be rich because everybody thinks that money will be the goal. All rich people that I have met in my life, they never work for money. They work to have a great product, the best product in the market. I can be different in my market, in my target. I can be unique, no? And that was because in the restaurant, I had 24 real estate agency property management, and I was all day in the restaurant, and I was not happy. And I started to build, okay, I opened my first restaurant, but Colin, you know that I'm integrity person. I closed 8 restaurants before I learned the best method ever. Every success person that I meet in my life, they build a method, a system, okay? After I had the 17
So I
restaurant,
say every successful person you met in your life has what?
has a big issue in the past.
Has
Before
had a big
you,
issue in the past. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that.
yeah, yeah,
Add me to the club.
yeah. I closed 8 restaurants. I lost it. When I listen people, $10 million in USA is too small. 10 million euro is a lot of money. It's more expensive than life in USA. But follow me. Same thing in the hotel. I was every single week in different hotel, and I was not happy about the services. And I was sure that to be customer, I can build something a customer want. For this, gym was my passion. Finally, I had 24 gym. Vitamin store in my passion, 27 vitamin store. I build something that where I was sure that I can build something around the customer client, not like a number. People build a mistake as an entrepreneur because they see customer like I can make money with them. No, they never make money with them. You can make money with one store. If you want to have a franchising, a big business, you need to remember that your customer, your client, they are the boss of your employee. They need to pay your rent, they need to pay your mortgage, they pay the payroll of your employee. And that is because for me it's very important. Everybody knows what is the review today. 25 years ago, I pay people. When they pay the bill, I give them every single time €5 of bonus if they leave the review. Because for me, it was very important to understand what they want. Do you know how many times I have met in my life people, they have super ego. Oh, I'm the best, I'm great, I'm fantastic, my product is the best. This is what you think. We need to understand that it's important what the customer client think about your product, your services. And for this, great mindset has open mind and ready for learn and improve every single day. Why I love Jack Ma when he say, "Be the change, don't follow the change." I give this example and I finish the talk. How many of you did you know that $49 billion of the business in the world it's over? It's over forever. Why? Because when a Netflix knock the door, Blockbuster say we are the past, the present, and the future. Where is today Blockbuster? Where is a Sony? Where is a BlackBerry? You need to have an open mind and try to be the first in your market. Don't try to be the best. That is my strategy, and that make me in the condition to be a crazy person when I start to live in USA to invest in Cleveland. Everybody bullish me, but when I had 507 property, $50 million, they started to take the right value about myself. Back to you, Colin.
A phenomenal success story, and always love hearing from you, Jose. What are your thoughts on some of his background? I mean, there's like four or five different things we could talk about there, like the fact that
Sure.
all successful people have history in their past, and that this
Mhm.
whole notion that you can get rich quick fast is maybe something that's promoted, but not necessarily the reality. I mean, everyone faces hardships. I'd like to hear from you, Jose, as well about you wrote a book called Getting in the Ring, and you sort of compared this to boxing and the challenges. I can't help but think of Rocky, Rocky one, Rocky two, and what he did to sort of get himself into that ring and eventually win. But it sure wasn't easy, was it?
No, not at all. But it was challenging. I'm the first author on my whole family, and I have to say before that, the cover of my book have the meaning. Okay, so I represent the immigrant, the person, the Latino that it's doing something of value. The coats that you see on my elbow, down my elbow, those coats, boxing coats, belongs to my father. He passed away in 2007, but he gave me those coats. He was world champion 1958 as a boxer in Mexico. Okay, he went to the Pan American Games. He won the silver medal. So that's the meaning. And the glove that I have on my right hand belongs to a professional boxer of El Paso, Texas. Okay, so I see a lot of parallelism between boxing and doing business, right? What I told you on my story, I mean, 2017, I lost $1 million overnight from a Friday to a Monday because of the bankruptcy of one of my main customers. So that almost put me on my knees. As a small business, it's all your cash flow, right? So boxing, it's a lot of risk. You can die over there on the ring once you are fighting for a championship or whatever type of fight. In also in business, it's very risky. I mean, you can lose everything overnight, right? And you have to be able to handle failure, and also the other big thing is handling success as well. Success, if you are not ready, it's very dangerous as well, right? Because it maximizes what you are. So I see that parallelism. And also on 2 years ago, Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, I was drinking some Negronis with him on Mexico City, and I was helping him to publish his book, Shoemaker in Spanish for Latin America. And so while drinking on the night, he told me, "Hey, Jose, I know you mentor a lot of companies, a lot of startups and young guys in India, United States, and Mexico and Chile, but why you don't write your book and you can help thousands of people, not just, I mean, a few, I mean, 10 here, 10 there, 20 there. You can, if you do it properly, you can reach out thousands or maybe millions of people, right? And you can help that." So I say, you know what? I'm listening this juggernaut of business, and he's so humble to tell me that. So I accept the challenge. I started the process with the same company that published his book, and he was so uh, great person to wrote down the foreword of the book for me. So I'm very fortunate that my book have the signature of Joe Foster, founder of Reebok, on the forward. So you know that's huge for me. That's legacy, and that's a super beautiful way for me to reach out the mind and the soul of a lot of entrepreneurs, brand new
Awesome.
entrepreneurs, right?
Yes, awesome. All
Thank you,
right,
Michelle.
Jose, we actually ordered a couple of your books, so I'm looking at the book.
Thank you.
And I have a question. Like, this is a little controversial, and I'm, very interested to hear your thoughts here. I think there's some insight here. You actually say you need no coaching. What you need is some sparring. And then you
Sure.
go on further to say this book is for you to spar. It is full of strikes, punches, and tactic details you should know in real action. So I'm really kind of interested to hear, all right, I get it. Like, I think what you're saying, and you can elaborate, is just like jump in the ring and get going. But what are some of those tactics? Like, give us some help here. Give us some details. Give us something that we can take home and think about to help us all on our entrepreneurial journey. Jose.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that great question. So, since the beginning, even before doing the book, when I mentor startups or small business owners, I have no, I never sugarcoat anything. So I'm very straightforward. And why? Because I feel the pain they have, and because I love them, and I love them to be, I love, and my efforts are to make them successful, right? And to do not shoot down their endeavor or their small company, right? So there's no time for sugar coating, like, like saying, hey, you know what, everything will be good. I mean, it's okay. Sometimes coaching on nowadays, it tends to be very sugar coating, very complacent. And I say, you know what, we don't have time for that. We need to be, I'm like your sparring on boxing. What's the sparring? The sparring is a person that is over there up in the ring with you, punching you and telling you the truth, and punching your mouth right in the face and putting you on your knees so you can be stronger, you can be wiser, to learn about those punches, right? And why can I do that? Because I have experience. I fail miserable in some of my endeavors. I have success as well, for sure. But so I can bring that to them in the form of punches on the face. So guess what? At the end, when we finalize the sparring session, they are smiling, they are wiser, and they feel super good about having those aha moments of things that they didn't see before the sparring session, right? Like understanding why companies fail, right? Why do we create companies? I mean, the high risk that you have on entrepreneurship, right? About the thing that I told on the book on one of the chapters is that loss of money of $1 million, I see it as a $1 million master degree in business, because I learned more deeply and exponentially about vendors, employees, partners, banks, and about myself, more importantly, about myself, about the value that I have. And I unattach myself to my company, right? Because we tend to attach so much ourselves to our companies that if the companies fail, we feel that we are a failure as well. And that's not the case. We are a separate entity. We are a person. with values, with feelings, with families. So we cannot attach to our companies like that. Okay, so that's type of the sparring that I do with people, and I told them in the face, I'm that rude, straightforward, because I love you and I want you to be successful. I want you to avoid losing that $1 million. I mean, on doing mistakes, on this, and that. But at the end of the book, I clearly and loud say, I can give you all the coaching, I mean, all the sparring, all that, but you have to savor yourself and feel your own journey and do your own mistakes. That's the only way you will learn and you will grow as a person and as a company.
So you were punched. You lost $1 million in a weekend,
Yes,
and
sir.
then on Monday morning you had to come back and like emotionally that must have been very challenging. And like, what is it that got you from being put on the, I don't know what the expression is, like you're put on your back on a boxing stage. You know, you're, what's the expression I'm looking for here? I don't have the boxing terms quite worked out, but you know, you were basically knocked on your back. You're down for the count, but you didn't let the 10-second timer run out. You managed to get back up, stand back up, and get back in the ring.
Sure.
What is it that you had in you that did that? Like,
You know what, Colin? When I, on my personal case, when I suffered that punch in the mouth and I was on my back on the floor of the ring, it was like a cocktail with a lot of with a mix of a lot of things. I feel guilty. I feel miserable. I feel um, not enough, because I'm the
what about
CEO of the
embarrassed too? Were you
company.
embarrassed? Because people,
Embarrassed for
I mean,
sure.
just keep going.
Sure, embarrassed. So it was a procedure of auto analysis on myself. And it was very close to the birthday of my sons. So I was like a robot for a few days. I was like a robot. I feel bad. You can feel the atmosphere on my office, like if someone it was passed away, right? I mean, very heavy, because everybody was afraid. So I put myself in my home, and I start, I mean, nights without sleep, thinking about why this happened. So fast forward, Colin, very clear here. So what makes me start getting traction is in the moment that I say to myself, what's the worst thing on this scenario that can happen? Losing my home, losing my company, starting all over again, maybe moving to an apartment. So I talked to my wife and I told her, hey, remember that I always told you since the very beginning about the risk of this? So this is the day. This is the day. Are you with me? Will you be open to start all over with me? And she said, absolutely. I mean, we are with you. So from that moment, I say, okay, if that happened, Jose, so what's the value? Okay, so I have a lot of relationship. I can start all over again from the ground and create something even bigger. And so I build a lot of real estate as a person. I have a lot of trustability. I connect with a lot of entrepreneurs all over the world. So I knew I am enough to create, as Jose Ochoa, a new endeavor. So when that happened, the only way is going up, right? Because I face, without fear, what's the worst case scenario, right? And if I'm healthy and I can, I mean, I have my family next to me. I mean, the sky is the limit again. So when I understand that is when I start getting traction. Actually, during those following months, I was able to lead my company to win a business accelerator program sponsored by Microsoft. And after 4 months, I was able to win $25,000 as the best value proposition in the region, right? And Microsoft gave me a check of $25,000. And Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, he signed the Jordans that I was wearing during my pitch, my demo day when I won. So That was a huge milestone. Actually, you can see those shoes on my office in El Paso, Texas, because I have it in display as a milestone. And I say, Colin, here, very important. I say, okay, this is a huge problem that can kill me. How can I transform that problem into my solution? Okay, so writing a book, sharing my lessons, helping other business owners to foresee all those lessons and all those failures and grow. So by sharing, but so I put my story. Actually, I emailed the Entrepreneur magazine on USA with my story, and they published my story in 2001 on April as a story of inspiration for small business owners. So I mean, you see, I get the results of taking my problem as a solution, and not just for me, for others, for thousands of people that can read my book, that can see my conversations like this one. And I mean, for me, when I was 20 years old, I would love to hear this type of stories that encourage me and inspire me for to build my future.
Oh, that's amazing, and I think on Clubhouse, those who are in the audience here, some of you may be in your 20s, and you're listening to these stories, and I think more often than not, entrepreneurs we don't listen when we're younger, and then we realize we should have went back and listened a little better. Giuseppe, since we have you on stage, it's pretty special for us to have you. I'd like to ask you: uh, was there a time when you were punched, you were knocked down, and you managed to get back up and start over, or let go of the loss and break through? Is there a time when you felt like you pretty much were going to throw in the towel, but then you said, you know what, I'm not, and I'm just gonna keep going? Giuseppe, if you're there. Michelle, I'm going to ask that. I'm going to twist that question over to you. All right. Looks like Giuseppe
Oh
got
yeah, I mean,
a little busy there, but I'm going to twist that one over to
like
you.
I think Jose said it. Like it's kind of life, and we face this in many ways, in many fashions and forms. But yeah, I mean, I work on one company now, and it's kind of a dim situation, but we just keep going. But I've always been one, similar to you, Jose. I think one of the things I learned is that you can't like get caught up too much in the past, and you have to keep pushing forward. You have to approach things very smartly, and not just from an emotional standpoint, but without getting into the details of it. E-commerce, for example, we have a couple of e-commerce companies we run. Like it's hard right now for e-commerce. It's really hard. People were over inventoried because they falsely thought the demand from COVID was going to continue, overstaff, overextended. And now it's just really, bringing companies to their knees. And, we're just having to like pick up the pieces and keep going and trying to be smarter about it, Colin. I think that's the thing. Try to be smarter about it. Don't fall into the same traps. It's almost kind of a chance, I look at it, to do a redo, right? Like, just sometimes forcing yourself to just focus on what really works and being honest about it, there can be a lot of value in that. And I do believe, like we've had many conversations here, those that survive these tough times, companies that are having tough times, they will be stronger, Jose. They will be stronger, especially
Sure.
if they, learn the lessons, right?
Right. And you know what, Michelle? I mean, thank you again for those magnificent, those beautiful comments. And that's what I love books. That's what I read like crazy because, Michelle, like if you are a company struggling and all that, I mean, you can have the best mentors in the world for less than 20 bucks, right? You spend those 20 bucks on Starbucks on or in other like drinks. And I mean, every book you read and you select, and it's an endless of possibilities, right? It's learning from the mistakes and the winnings of others. So that's the beautiful thing about reading books, and like the one that Colin just published, and so many thousands of books. And that's the beauty of that. So I always encourage entrepreneurs to be perpetual learners. Always, I mean, be learning every single day, read the new books, and you just not you don't need to finish the whole book. Just buy the books that you feel that you need to learn more, and even by chapters, just read two, three chapters that you need on X book, and then jump into another book that will strengthen your capabilities and your abilities. I mean, for what you are currently living, and also to enhance your next stage as an entrepreneur. So I always encourage everyone to be a perpetual learner. Otherwise, I mean, you will be very weak in defining moments when you are challenging moments of struggle. You will be very weak, right? Because you don't have enough capabilities, enough skills and tools, and you don't have the thick skin that give you experience, learning, mentors, and so all that. So I hate a lot on that, Michelle.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear, another lesson. Like I hear what I'm hearing so far is just this. It's a strong theme about being positive and picking yourself and moving forward. It really is, a mental and emotional state of mind. But what else could you tell our members here on the stage, about moving forward and making your business successful? Getting in the ring, like you said, just getting in there and going for it. What other lessons might you share with us, or tools, or your favorite books? Obviously, we know your book, and I'm going to finish reading it. I've really enjoyed it. But what other tools might you share with us?
You know what, Michelle? One key factor is uh, knowing how win looks to you, right? Because sometimes it's so noisy, the environment of entrepreneurship, that you lost sight. So be clear in what's winning for you, okay? If you know how winning looks for you will be more clear, more productive, and get it and having more traction towards your goal of winning. Also, very important, include others on the winning. Don't just look for you to win. Look for others to win with you, because um, we tend to be very uninclusive to just thinking of, okay, how win looks for me, but it's also for others. Invite others to the table, to the winning, and you will be happier and better when arriving to that big win. In terms of books, I love Built to Last from Jim Collins and Professor Jerry Porras. I have the privilege to be a graduate from LBAN, Latino Business Action Network. I graduated in 2020, and Professor Jerry Porras give me, I mean, several lessons on about this book, Built to Last. And I mean, there's so many books. I mean, Shoemaker, it's a great book for entrepreneurs, for inspiration to see. You know what? Actually, I have to say this. When I was on living that big financial setback, I was listening on my commute to home every single day. I was listening Shoe Dog, by the story of Nike, the story of Phil Knight, and that book helped me so much to encourage myself to feel confident, right? To feel confident, and it helped me a lot. A simple book, the story of this gentleman, right? And also, maybe lastly, we have to differentiate uh, between self confidence and knowing uh, your worth as a person, right? Because self confidence, it's getting into the ring I mean, over and over again. But if you are losing, I mean, you will lose if you are only self confidence, right? But knowing your worth, I mean, what's your value? That is will what that's the thing that is going to help you to win. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you lose 4 fights in a row. You know your value. You know it's just a matter of time. And if you don't know your value and what's your worth, you will lose. You will, I mean, in some point, you will lose your self confidence, your resiliency. So always know your value and always know your role.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like, we need confidence, right? You need confidence, and what I'm taking away is we also get confidence by setting our goals, like setting realistic goals, because I think that helps us, as you're saying, gauge how we're actually doing. Like that's a critical, foundational piece that I would agree we all need to do.
Sure, sure. And so, Michelle, and what I try to put on my book, I feel on my journey and my personal journey in talking with other entrepreneurs, I understood that entrepreneurship sometimes, as the owner of the company, is very lonely. So you have to take or to call your own shots on solitude, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, everybody can give you their opinion, but at the end of the day, you are the one that pull the trigger on decisions, and you are the one that take the path. So my intention on this book is to be your companion next to you, a book that you can open and be a friend on a guide of what to do on defining moments, what to do, what I have learned from Mark Cuban and from Joe Foster, for example, sharing that and trying and not be uh, on a scarcity mindset that everything that you learn through the journey, you keep it for yourself because it's your secret sauce and you don't want others to have the same success like you or the same learnings. Sometimes people say, hey, no, I mean, you have to be able to learn from your own failures and all that. I will not share that with you. No, we have to think and have an abundance mindset, right? I mean, my light is not going to diminish your light, or your light is not going to diminish my light. But by the contrary, I mean, with two lights, we can have, I mean, better vision. So that's my philosophy, and that was the main intention on this book, to touch others and to help them to feel that companion on the road.
That's awesome. All right. We don't have too much time left here, but we have someone, Paige Howell, who's had a lot of experience in starting businesses and running businesses. And I'd love for you to join in on this conversation, Paige. Jose's talked a lot about, it's all your frame of mind and your motivation and moving forward. So I'd love to hear your point of view about, how do entrepreneurs really get up and go and get started and actually make it work? Over to you, Paige.
Well, thanks, Michelle, and I really appreciate the comments that Jose had made. I really took from it this concept of separating yourself from your startup, um, and that maybe that takes some of the pressure off, because when your startup's not doing well, you don't have to say, I'm not doing well. You're able to put it in a little box and say, now I want to focus on my startup, and it's not doing well. I'm still doing well. I'm still capable, confident, ready to go. You know what I mean? Definitely learn from anything that happened. Right now, one of the companies I'm involved with just got 80% of where they advertised, they just got kicked off a platform. And you could sit there and say, we're done. So the things that I thought of when you asked the question earlier, Michelle, and the businesses I've been at that have just been blindsided. I got a call one time. I had funded a company, and we had one big client. and we were about to deliver our product, and the CEO called me and he said, our product doesn't work, we can't deliver, we can't deliver to our biggest client. And I was just like you say, it punched me, it had me on the floor. You know what I mean? And the only thing I can think about as I go back to that moment, and I've seen some other people do the same thing, is you really do have to clear out your schedule and apply a lot of focus. You almost want to expand time. What I mean is, that was kind of vague, is it took us a while to figure out how to recover. And it took us a while, but because we were working all the time on it, it was only 5 or 6 days before we knew what our plan was going forward. But during that interim time, we did have all hands on deck to really go through and say, how did we get in at this point where we were dependent on this one customer, this one platform, this one financing? How did we become dependent on that? Were we lazy in some of the things that we could have done better? And we allowed ourselves to be so dependent on something that really knocked us down, like you talked about getting on the canvas. And so you definitely had to analyze that. And then the second thing, I think of that movie, The Princess Bride, where the hero character asks after he's been almost dead, he says, what are our assets? And I think no matter what you've done in your company, and I like the way Jose said it, your experiences, the things you've learned, the things you've done, there are assets in there that you've learned or you've done or you've accumulated, or relationships. There are things you can build on, to keep going forward. So, Michelle, those are my thoughts. Is one, separate yourself from it personally. I really like that from what Jose said. Two, I found you really have to make every day seem like an hour, so you can do 7 days worth of work in 7 hours and really dig into your company, and beware that what you thought were your greatest strengths may have been your biggest weaknesses. And then find your assets, find the assets inside what you have left to grow on. So that's what it made me think when they asked those really good questions.
Yeah, and I know you personally, Paige, for many years, and I know, I'll say resilience is, I was going to say your middle name, but I think it's your first name too, Paige. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Fantastic, love the room. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Well, I see we have one more person on the room, but it looks like he or she is on a call. So, Colin, we're about 7 minutes out to the end of our show here. I also, when I think of resilience, I think of you, Colin. Like, you have some phenomenal stories. I know that you have shared them in your new book that's coming out, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. That's actually available for pre-order on Amazon. But what is the one resounding theme, Colin? Just like, I know, if you had to sum it up, like, you've had to get up and go and fallen down several times, and like we like to say, like, no business is easy. It's always a struggle. We feel like we never feel like we're just like, oh my gosh, we're the goose that laid the golden egg. So, what would be your advice, Colin, as a successful serial entrepreneur?
Find a good fetal position. I'm, yeah, I'm joking, but I can't tell you how many times I just want to go home and crawl up in bed and just like, oh, sometimes it just feels horrible. The whole entrepreneurial journey is a roller coaster. It's ups and downs. It is getting punched, and getting knocked down, and actually getting yourself up. And actually, I think I was actually really punched when I was in Russia. I was attacked. It was a surprise attack, and then it was hit. Went down for the count, but I did get back up. I was wearing a white jacket. It was completely bloody. The entire jacket covered in blood because it broke my nose, and my wrist was also affected by it. But in any case, got back up, and we they managed to pull the guy off, whatnot, and they thought I was American. Now, don't get me wrong, I am an American citizen, but I'm also a Canadian citizen. So, in any case, the fact of the matter was, it doesn't justify it. And in any case, and that moment really impacted me and made me realize, I'm doing a lot for this company. I traveled to over 50 countries to promote .club. And I know, Michelle, you've come with me and we've done a lot of travels together, and we continue to do travels, and working on Startup Club, which is our next big journey, and the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. Each one of those are journeys. And, there are too many times in my past where I've taken a hit and had to find a way to get back up. And I don't think we have enough time for me to go into that. But I have because Jose was talking a lot about getting help and that we're not alone. And ironically, I'm actually just finished the article that I'm submitting to Forbes titled Startup Founders, You're Not Alone. 7 free ways founders can increase their chances of success by getting help. So I thought I'd just spin it off here. I'm not going to go through it in detail, and I know we'll do a show around this one as well, probably in July or August. But one of the ideas, the first one, is to join an incubator, accelerator, or innovation center. And I actually work at an innovation center. I do sessions with entrepreneurs, and they have 10 sessions over 10 weeks, and they do several times a year. And guess what? It's absolutely free. And you connect yourself within a group, you connect yourself to potential investors, you do a pitch competition, absolutely free. And in your local community, you can find that. Number 2, build a group of advisors. This is a really neat thing. If you, and I don't know if you've done this, Jose or Giuseppe or Paige even, but this idea of building a group of advisors, not board of directors, because that can actually have legal issues and high insurance costs and whatnot, but a group of advisors who are in your industry or can help you achieve success as part of your company. Creating a network of smart shareholders. I actually really do believe in having a group of shareholders in my companies. And at Dot Club, we had 27 investors. And guess what? I also had 27 free employees. That was pretty cool. Number 4, join a peer group. I belong to an organization called EO, and for 25 years now, monthly I get together with 8 other entrepreneurs and we share challenges and strategies and growth opportunities. And we don't charge each other, but we also learn about each other's businesses. We expand. I think you've mentioned this, Jose. It's not just about one company. It's also about sharpening your trade. Entrepreneurship is a trade. We need to continue to sharpen that sword and learn from each other and continue to be better and better at that. We're not one company. We're not just CEO of one particular industry. We're not just founder of one particular company. We are an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is a trade. Number 5, connect with others on social media. I can't tell you how important Clubhouse has been for me. And I know, Giuseppe, for you as well. I mean, it is amazing, Clubhouse. And just connecting here, we've started to look at potentially Entree as well. They've got some interesting stuff there. I know Discord has some things. I know we're talking audio chat, but you've also got the social media like on LinkedIn and the startup groups and that kind of stuff. Number 6, find a mentor. And I had the opportunity to interview a few days ago an individual from Score. Score provides free mentoring support to help small businesses launch, grow, and thrive. Guess what? They've helped 11 million entrepreneurs in over 60 years. It's a government-funded organization with volunteers. Again, it's free. You just go to score.org and sign up. Number 7, you'll like this, Jose, and you're going to get the last word, Jose. Read books and listen to podcasts. This particular show is syndicated in podcasts. We have over 110 episodes. It's called Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. You can search through your favorite podcast channel. It's a fun show. It's a live show, so you never know what happens on it. But we've had over probably 50 invitees, and we've had hundreds of speakers from the community as well who've contributed to those 110 episodes. Phenomenal authors, serial entrepreneurs, experts, billionaires. We've had them all on this show, and it's been very exciting to be partnered here with Michelle Van Tilburg, Mimi Ostrander, and myself. Jose, last word. Read books and listen to podcasts. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. You don't
It's
have to
free.
sign up to a master class to go and listen to 110 episodes of Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. And let me tell you this, you will get an MBA in entrepreneurship if you did that.
Sure, sure. Colin, super important, and I love it. I love. I think it's mandatory. If you are on this journey, playing this game of entrepreneurship, it's mandatory for you to be always, searching for new podcasts or listening the podcasts that you already select and curate for you, and ask other leaders that you admire I mean, ask them what they are hearing, what they are reading, and they will be so um, uh, humble to tell you. I mean, what's the secret sauce? I mean, what's the podcast that they are listening? I hear so many podcasts in Spanish and English, and I always have a list and screenshots that I share with new peers when I met them. Hey, you know what? I think based on our conversation, you should read this book. This book helped me a lot on this and that. So I have a lot of books on Audible. Also, my book is on Audible because Audible is important for me because I don't listen to the radio when I'm driving. I always listen in a podcast or an Audible on Audible. So yeah, super important, mandatory, and um, sure. I mean, I think that's, and you know what? I mean, in this current market, that thing is going to grow exponentially. I mean, if you are not, I mean, doing this, I mean, in increasing your consumption of podcast content, all that, I mean, you will be falling behind every day. So it's mandatory. And thank you, Colin. Thank you for, I mean, sharing. I mean, all your knowledge and sharing your new book because I know it's pure gold for all of us entrepreneurs. And I mean, I thank everyone for reading my book as well. It's from my heart, and it's that's the main intention to be, I mean, of value for thousands of people. And I love it. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak from the heart about my journey and my experiences. And I'm glad to hear from the other person, Giuseppe and Paige. Love it. I mean, I love to connect with you guys as well. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome. And thank you. We're really, so pleased that you came on stage and you shared your story with all of our amazing members here at Startup Club. So, on that note, we're a little past the hour. I just want to remind everybody you can go to our website at www.startup.club and join our email list, as well as get links and links to podcasts, excuse me. You can see show notes, you can see transcripts for, gosh, close to 200 episodes. So it's all there, it's all free for you. And we'd greatly appreciate if you sign up for our email newsletter. It's a great way to just stay in contact and stay in touch going on in Startup Club. So thank you. And don't forget to tune in next week, Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Gentlemen, he actually has a podcast called Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. He also is a 5-time author. He's written books such as Flip the Funnel, How to Use Existing Customers to Gain New Ones, and Built to Suck, The Inevitable Demise of Corporations and How Do We Save It, and several other books. So we'd love for you to join. He's also been doing a daily 8 a.m. show here on Startup Club. So thank you, Jose. Thank you, Giuseppe, and thank you, Paige. We always appreciate hearing your amazing stories. And you know what? We learn so much from each other. Thank you, and everyone have an amazing weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you,
Blessings.
Jose.
bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.